Just outside of Montreal, a vast industrial warehouse holds thousands of barrels of Canada's most valuable export, maple syrup. Each barrel weighs 1,500 pounds and is worth nearly 20 times more than crude oil. A single surveyor is making his routine inspection, climbing up, on, and around the barrels to make sure everything is up to snuff, when one barrel falls to the ground, empty. It would not be the only one. A gang of sticky-fingered thieves managed to run away with $20 million worth of maple syrup.
Welcome to Heist Club, where we've got a new heist story coming at you each week. We're here to uncover the details behind some of the most audacious and ridiculous robberies of all time. How they pulled it off, how they got caught, and the mysteries that remain. Bank heists, art heists, diamond heists, and other capers you won't believe. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Todd.
Welcome to the club.
Happy spring, Jesse.
Happy spring, Todd.
I mean, it didn't just become spring. It's April now, but still, I never wished you a happy spring, and that's something I always like to do to my close friends and confidants.
Yes, you have to do that.
You're on my list. Now I could cross your name off, and
my
I have wished you a happy spring
list. Yes.
I've done it since I was a wee fellow, since I was 5 or 6. I always had my spring
when you were
list.
5 and 6, you would skip from door to door, knocking every door. It's springtime!
It's springtime! Yes.
And you would throw flower petals everywhere.
Well, speaking of spring, Jesse, I think that spring is the season for migration. And like the birds going up north, it's time for us to go up north for the first time.
Ooh, you got there.
We are telling a heist from Canada. It took us long enough. Told a lot from the U.S., a lot from England, and then some sporadically from other places in the world. But
we knew your Canadians were up to something, and we found it.
Finally, yeah, the Great White North, you were finally ours. We're sorry it took us so long. I know you were in a bad mood. Our American hockey teams keep beating you and earning medals in dramatic ways. And this is our make good. This is our way of making you feel more included.
All right. Yeah.
But it's a crazy story too. And it's also a very Canadian story, right?
You can't get more Canadian than this, I don't think. Unless there was like hockey pucks and sticks involved. Now I'm just sounding very ignorant.
Now we're just going to add
culture.
Random hockey pucks into the story. They're not a part of the story.
And then he took out his hockey stick and opened
the door. We do have
door.
Mounties, though. We have Mounties, and the main part of our story is, last week on Heist Club, we had some fun. We covered the fictional Sticky Bandits, a couple of fools on April Fool's Day. But this week, we tell the story of the real Sticky Bandits, and they're not in Chicago, and they're not in New York City. They are in Canada, as we've said way too many times. Take a shot every time we say Canada. Take a shot of Canadian whiskey, or, have a sip of your Molson, if you will.
I want to go to Canada. You ever been to Canada?
I've been to Canada many times. Have you never been to Canada, Jesse?
No. I haven't even been to, like, Portland.
Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon?
Both.
Oh, they're both wonderful.
I know.
Especially Portland, Maine.
I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. I would love to see Vancouver. That would probably be my choice just because I know someone that lived there. And, do you like Toronto?
I've not been to Toronto in years, but Toronto's a great city. Montreal's amazing.
Cool.
It's just the food's incredible, and it's, it feels a little taste of Europe. I've not been to Vancouver, but I did like Seattle and Portland just south. So, I grew up, outside Detroit. And actually, Windsor, Ontario is actually south of Detroit. So it's a part of Canada that is south of Michigan. So we used to go across the river pretty, not all the time, but pretty often. And I'd go in high school and college for other reasons. But Canada's a very sweet place. There's so much to see. And
I'm sure. It's really big. I want to go.
You haven't been to Niagara Falls then either, right? You've been on either side? You haven't.
Correct. I've been to New York, but that's as close as I got.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to do something about that, Jesse. We're gonna do something about that.
I will.
Listeners, you've probably heard of the Great Train Robbery. You definitely have heard of it from us. Now get ready for its Canadian cousin, the Great Maple Syrup Heist. It all starts on July 30th, 2012. Inspector Michel Gavreau travels to the St. Louis de Blanford Syrup Reserve facility for its annual inspection. It's an emergency stockpile of syrup in case of a low yield year, inclusive of disease or climate factors. And it's kind of similar to the US's oil reserves. The syrup is stored in massive white and blue barrels, each weighing 1,500 pounds, carrying 45 gallons of pure syrup. And reserves might hold 46 million gallons in a typical year, with drums stacked from floor to ceiling nearly 20 feet high. We do have a picture. It is a massive facility. They are really stocked high. It makes me kind of hungry. Also kind of gives me a cavity, I think.
I just think of these crazy pyramids. I don't know. It's an impressive pyramid of barrels. That's what I think of. Yeah,
it's amazing they don't fall over all the time. I guess when they're full, they don't fall over. Because they're stacked so perfectly. But I don't know. It looks like the final scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. This is, you can find a lot in this stock file.
Do they do that with a forklift? I would be like so nervous. Imagine trying to make a pyramid with heavy barrels with a forklift.
Like there has to be an easier way.
Sounds impossible.
Yeah, there's not like even shelves they're putting them on. They're literally just one on top of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 high.
But manually sounds impossible too. I'm just impressed by the stacking.
Yeah, those Canadians are so neat. What neat people.
Yeah.
Back to Michel. He is a small man and a spry fellow, if you will, which makes sense when we learn about his inspection technique, which is crazy when you think of this. He climbs on top of the barrels, these crazy barrels that are in these pyramids, giving him a bird's eye view of the operation. I don't know, is that like the way he's taught? He's just got his own way, It's
maybe he's really into parkour.
I wish there was video of that. Yeah. Is there a Canadian Ninja Warrior? Is he a winner or champion? Will he be one day?
He turns on like action music and just like flips around the barrels and knocking on them with a hammer.
I'm now imagining the Mission Impossible theme, but maybe that's not the right soundtrack.
I was thinking the Mortal Kombat theme, so that's not far off.
That's good too. That works. Okay.
It's just those two songs on repeat as he dances around.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like this image. This is like a dance party. So while he does this, though, in this case, there's one barrel he can't reach. And when he manages to climb on, it falls over, which should not happen. A 600-pound barrel would definitely weigh more than a spry fellow like Michel. He knocks on the barrel and it's hollow. He looks inside and it's all rusted, which is weird. Syrup does not oxidize. It's mostly sugar, very little water content. And you won't find any container of syrup gathering condensation. I dare you to try. I dare you.
Okay.
Michel doubles back and finds dozens of barrels filled with water instead of syrup, and some are just flat out empty. Some are also dirty, which definitely doesn't reflect the warehouse's strict cleanliness standards, as we can see, and you will see in the show notes, listeners. Someone, or someones, had obviously emptied a large portion of barrels and made way with the syrup. Why steal syrup of all things is the question you're probably asking, and we were asking when we first heard this. Well, it turns out maple syrup is worth its weight in gold, literally. One barrel sells for about $1,800, which is $32 per gallon. And if you compare that to a gallon of crude oil, which is $2.66 in the year of the heist. A little bit more right now for certain reasons, but we don't have to get into that. 75% of the world's syrup also comes from Canada, and over 95% of that is from Quebec, which is where the city of Montreal is and where this facility is. It is so valuable, it needs a regulatory body. The Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, the QMSP, which we're going to reference a few times, founded in 1966.
Wow.
Over 7,000 producers send syrup to the QMSP for regulation, and then the QMSP assists with marketing and production. And to insiders, the QMSP is kind of like the maple syrup cartel. Producers are only allowed to sell a certain amount to certain people, plus they only allow producers to sell through them. So it's a neat trick to keep prices high, or as they would say, stable. Potato, potato. They also take $54 off the top of each barrel as a sort of tax. So it's kind of a, what would you call that system, Jesse? It's not exactly a fair system.
I don't know anything, but it kind of seems like, isn't this just what businesses are?
Right, they just take something off the top every time.
I just feel like this is what like any kind of business could be like. Yeah, it's kind of a cartel. They reign over everybody. I'm like, yeah, it's like a company.
Yeah.
Not to say I like this. I'm just saying it's like, I don't know.
You're not
if you call this
it.
A cartel, like what else is?
Well, there's a governing body, right? So it's also, I mean, not like we don't know the government does this too, but it feels pretty blatant and obvious. It's like, no, we will help you and we will keep prices high. I mean, well, I guess if it is just the organizations, that's what they might do to keep the prices high. It's less, but taking $54 off the top of each barrel, though,
right?
That might piss off some maple syrup producers.
Yeah,
like why do we need you again? I don't know. So, where there's a highly lucrative product restricted by bureaucracy, a robust black market is usually not far behind. Enter I love this term. This is the name for people who kind of sell syrup illegally. The barrel rollers, which is such a funny name. So these are the people who produce and sell the syrup illegally, like I said, dodging the regulated controls and supply management system. Barrel rolling kind of sounds like it could be an Olympic sport, too. I mean, if curling is an Olympic sport, although I love curling, which is very popular in Canada, then why not barrel rolling? Although when I think of barrel rolling, I can't remember if it's the same term, but like when you're like, I've never done this. When you're driving in a car fast and like the passenger opens the door and just kind of jumps out and rolls, is that barrel rolling?
Well, I think, you should barrel roll unless you want to break every bone in your body.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, it's a good point. People don't do that just for fun. They're doing that to be safe when they jump out of a car.
It's a technique to live. Tuck and roll.
It's a technique to live. For me, it was just, these crazy kids and their barrel rolling to survive a crash or something. Oh, no, the brakes aren't working. Instead of like, hey, Jimmy, just go really fast for a second.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never done that. I've done some dumb stuff, but I've never jumped out of a moving car.
Not yet.
All right. Well, you're right.
Well, in 2006, the barrel rollers and QMSP collide. They collide, though, when $1.3 million worth of syrup is stolen from a Quebec warehouse. This is not the story we're telling. This is a pre-story. And to this day, that case has not been solved. Then, in 2011, Canada sees a particularly large surplus in syrup production, so much that in June, the QMSP rents an additional warehouse in St. Louis de Blandford, Quebec, the facility you mentioned earlier. This one is next to a busy highway in an industrial park. So it's not exactly hiding, I guess. This extra warehouse doesn't come with the bells and whistles you would think a highly valuable reserve would have. Not shocking from past episodes we've done in terms of levels of security. With only one guard patrolling once a day, it's definitely not a very sophisticated security setup. And that brings us back to our spry fellow, Michel. Barrel rollers have struck again. Michel triggers the alarm, and authorities rush over. The first objective is to figure out how much syrup is missing. After lots and lots of counting, doing lots of mathing, they eventually discover that 9,571 barrels of syrup have disappeared. This is approximately 6 million pounds of syrup with a value of $20 million Canadian, which is $14 million US dollars at the time, which is at this point now $20 million US. So there's a lot of dollars, but basically $20 million Canadian at the time. And if we're looking at it from today's dollars, $20 million US. That's a crazy amount of maple syrup. Who knew $20 million of maple syrup could even exist? It just feels like that'd be all the maple syrup in the world. But nope.
That is one of the higher numbers we've heard of when we talk about Heist and Heist Club. That is a lot of money.
We've had cash from like depots that are close to that level or around that level. Right. We've never had an object close to that level. That's for sure. Although, what's the value of the Mona Lisa today? It's priceless. Maybe you could say it's $20 million or more. I would imagine it's crazy more. If that were never sell in the market, it'd be like, I don't know, crazy. But of all things, it's not diamonds. It's not art. It's not priceless art. It's not cash in this case. It is maple syrup. So, the value of maple syrup, $20 million. Crazy. For a heist of this magnitude, it would have taken around 100 tractor trailers to export it if you did it in one big run. And they could not confirm that, of course, as there weren't any cameras to record the heist occurring because they didn't have cameras, which, again, I mean, barrel rolling existed before, right? So you would think they'd be conscious it might happen again. When we see like a cash depot or a museum not have cameras, it seems especially stupid. But in this case, again, it happens. I mean, perhaps Canadians are just a very trusting people, even though it happened, or they thought no one would be able to move this amount of barrels, or maybe the QMSP was a victim of their own hubris and thought no one would even try to steal from them. Probably the least armed cartel on the planet then. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the mannequin guard in the Dunbar episode, which was our first episode. Maybe even the mannequin guard was more effective than what they had here. I mean, but was it? I mean, they still stole from the Dunbar. Maybe it wasn't that effective. Nothing works, guys.
Nothing works. Yeah, maybe I'm sure they have cameras now.
Yeah, finally. So the Quebec police force comes to one conclusion. This has to be an inside job, which is usually Jesse and my conclusion as well. Thieves would need to have had unlimited access to the warehouse as they were taking and emptying the barrels and returning them. So it was like a long process here. But with thousands of members within the QMSP and plenty of producers with a heavy grudge and a penchant for barrel rolling, anyone could be a suspect. What do they do? Find out after the break.
Welcome back, Sticky Bandits. After $20 million worth of syrup goes missing in Quebec, investigators are puzzled on how someone could move 6 million pounds of the stuff and go unnoticed. Canada takes its supply of syrup very seriously, so several investigative groups get involved. The Quebec Police, U.S. Customs, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
The Mounties.
Bring in the Mounties! There are 250 investigators total. For some of the Quebec police, this is the biggest investigation they have ever covered.
They're taking it seriously now. They didn't take it seriously before to have cameras or more security guards. But now that it's gone, they're like, oh, we got to take this seriously. So learn their lesson.
That's usually how it goes. It's like, oh, we have to do something about this now. Forensic experts are also on the case to narrow down the suspect list. And their focus, the scoffs on the side of the barrels. The QMSP uses special forklifts that leaves the barrels unblemished, so this had to be an outside forklift. Not an inside job, but an outside forklift.
I love an inside forklift. I usually keep it in my living room. I don't know where you keep your inside forklift.
The kitchen. That's how I make breakfast.
The kitchen. I need to flip these eggs. Forklift?
You just take out the entire stove.
Subtle.
Yeah. Investigators take on the tedious work of contacting every forklift rental across the province, hoping to find a name with connections to barrel rolling. In the meantime, authorities also question 300 people and issue 40 search warrants across Canada and the U.S. But finding stolen syrup isn't like finding a stolen car. It doesn't have any identifiers outside of its storage barrel, which they had been removed from. You can't dust for syrup.
Yeah, they're just, I'm imagining this is a bunch of like plastic bags. Like the syrup's not in barrels anymore. It's just millions of plastic bags holding syrup.
Wow.
I don't know why I'm picturing that. Maybe I want to make myself laugh.
Yeah. They know the key to solving the case is the distribution of the syrup. If they find the distributor, the supplier won't be too far away. The investigative team locates an uptick in exports in certain areas but can't attribute it to the QMSP. When a product is regulated this tightly, unusual changes in distribution raises red flags. One of the main...
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, maybe it's not a lot for me to offer, but I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes it. How do you track it? It's like, well, we know the certain amount and this is interesting. There's more being sold from here or bought here. That's not usual. That's a place to look.
Yeah, that does make sense, Todd. One of the main areas in which they see an uptick of unattributable syrup sales is New Brunswick, the mecca of barrel rolling. They go down those hills every day.
I have never heard that nickname, the mecca of, they should sell T-shirts or bumper stickers. Welcome to New Brunswick. Or that's what it says when you cross over province lines. I was going to say state lines. Welcome to New Brunswick, the mecca of barrel rolling.
Yep. When New Brunswick enters the mix, one name comes to mind. Enter Etienne St. Pierre. He's a syrup producer in his early 70s. Often described as a mellow man who is always seen wearing a navy shirt and slacks. He owns a warehouse in New Brunswick. He looks like a man.
We have a picture. This is one of those pictures where it's like, we have nothing to say about this person. He looks like a man who wears navy and slacks. He looks like a man in his 70s, and we do see a navy shirt.
Proof.
I'll post in the show notes just because we do, but like, you're not going to get much out of this. I don't know. He doesn't look
like a football coach.
Does he? Or a hockey coach?
Yeah, hockey coach. There you go. Yeah.
Gotta say hockey just so we can get that reference in. Come on.
Etienne is also a career barrel roller who's been in trouble with the QMSP before. In 2006, he was exposed by an undercover investigator for operating a barrel rolling scheme and was fined $264,166 Canadian dollars, which is 186,000 USD. He never paid the fine because, quote, as soon as you cross into New Brunswick, the Federation can do nothing. Good for you.
That makes so much sense. And that's such a restriction.
I know.
We control all the, it's Susan, there we go. It's not in Quebec anymore. Now we can't find you. Wow. It's hard to enforce.
Yeah. He is correct that the QMSP did not exactly have jurisdiction in New Brunswick. He'll buy from everyone big and small. He loves the money he makes from it, but hates the Federation more. Compares their practices to a pimp.
I don't know if that's the same thing.
They have strong feelings.
At the end. I don't know how much experience he has with pimps. I mean, maybe he knows more than I do. Move on.
How does he do all this illegal activity so brazenly? Besides his general hatred for the QMSP, he reasons that his Ottawa license and lack of contract with the QMSP makes everything legal.
Does he?
No.
He reasons. Does he really think that? I think, yeah. I guess that's why it's reasons.
Yeah. While Etienne blatantly ignores the QMXP, his second in command, Julien Bosset, takes the offensive against the organization. On a subpoena, she writes, "F you, gang of a-holes, ha ha ha. We will keep buying maple syrup forever," and faxes it back to them. When a bunch of allegedly stolen syrup shows up in New Brunswick, investigators know exactly where to look.
And we do have a picture of the two of them together, Etienne and Julien. And I know, is that a Navy shirt again? I guess that is the Navy shirt again for him.
Only
but she
Navy
looks so
for him.
sweet. Look at her. I mean, the smile on her face, she just looks so cheerful. I love imagining her.
Don't trust the smile. Yeah.
The idea of her writing that note, the FU gang of a-holes, we will keep buying maple syrup forever. She's got a lot of spunk, you know?
Yeah. On September 25th, 2012, officers confront Etienne in his office. Julien immediately jumps into defensive mode. She knows that the Quebec War isn't any good in New Brunswick. She takes it, literally wipes her butt with it, flips him off, and slams the door.
Again, our favorite character in the story. Literally wipes her butt with it. Wow. She hates the man and probably loves Rage Against the Machine songs.
I hope so. When the police try another door and ask Etienne for the keys to the warehouse, Julien snatches the keys from Etienne's hands and stuffs them in her bra.
Of course she does.
We should note that outside of her confrontations with the law, she makes syrup-filled chocolate maple leaves and sells them in the gift shop.
Again, I mean, she contains multitudes. She is a fascinating individual.
Yep.
That sounds tasty, too.
Sounds good.
Syrup-filled chocolate maple leaves sound so good.
I'll take 2. Despite Julien's best attempts, the police do not give up and return at 11 p.m. that night with a warrant, this time issued by a New Brunswick judge. Julien once again refuses to give them the keys, so they pry the warehouse door open with a crowbar.
So now we know, like, the reasoning was total BS, right? Because it's like, okay, now they weren't just respecting provincial lines. They were, committing a crime. And now that's a New Brunswick judge. It's not like Julien and Etienne are all of a sudden like, oh, I get it. This is totally legal. This is above board. And here you go. I'll take the keys out of my bra.
No, they're committed. They find over $1 million worth of syrup unaccounted for by the QMSP. Etienne spills easily and tells authorities that he purchased 700 to 800 barrels of syrup from a known barrel roller, Richard Valliere. But of course, he didn't know it was stolen.
Of course not.
Like Etienne, the Canadian authorities know Richard very well. The 33-year-old is a career barrel roller, operating since the early 2000s. They already fined him over 1.5 million Canadian, 1.1 million USD in 2007 for other black market syrup selling. The stiff punishment like that obviously hadn't shaken him. He may or may not have been involved in the 2006 heist and got away with it too.
Do we know that though? We're just
he may or may not, we said.
He may or may not. And got away with it if he did. If he didn't, he also got away with it. But either way, we're just putting it out there.
Yeah. Some say thief. He might say free market man.
Free market man. That's some of my favorite superheroes.
Free market man.
I have issue number 1 of Free Market Man. I think the Green Goblin attacks him that in that one. It's a crossover.
That's great.
Yeah.
We got a photo of this guy. He looks like he has a secret.
He looks like either he's in a band or he just goes to a lot of concerts too. I don't know. You got the look of the guy who's drinking a beer by the bar during the rock concert.
That's funny. I guess so. Yeah.
Maybe because he's wearing a lot of black clothing, dark clothing.
Yeah, the hair and the black clothing makes me think he knows about post-punk. You're right.
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
Loves some Joy Division.
Who doesn't?
Right. But He couldn't have done this all by himself. That's when the forklift comes in handy. Remember how investigators searched for any names connected to barrel rolling? Well, they eventually find one, Richard's good friend, Sebastian Jutra. Sebastian's job on paper is truck driver. He'll haul any load as long as you pay him. By December, they're ready to take him in for questioning. Sebastian folds immediately and cooperates with authorities, giving them details on how someone manages to steal all those barrels without 100 tractor trailers. How? Find out after the break.
We're back to the land of Celine Dion, although she's not part of our story. After investigators find Sebastian's name in a forklift rental, they take him in for questioning where he agrees to help with the investigation. That didn't take long. He starts with who hired him. Meet Avik Caron. We have a picture of Avik and, I don't know, cast member of like the Canadian version of Wall Street, maybe. He just looks, buttoned up, wearing a nice
He looks like he's about to sell me something for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he could just be a used car dealer outside. That's true. That's very possible as well. Not getting a lot from the expression. I think he has the secret. And it's not that he loves Joy Division. It's a different secret.
No.
Avik's wife owns a warehouse in St. Louis de Blandford. And when the QMSP comes knocking, asking to rent space to store their surplus of syrup, she happily agrees. She, of course, then tells her husband Avik about the gold mine that just landed in her warehouse. Plus, he already knows about her building's poor excuse for security. Of course he does. He's married to her. Avik isn't a squeaky clean guy just getting in for his first crime. He had just avoided jail time by pleading guilty in a fraud case in April of that year. He decides to roll the dice again. He also may or may not have connections with the Italian mafia. Don't you think that the QMSP would do more investigations into the warehouses they're going to put all their syrup? First of all, how much security do you have? Second of all, has your husband committed fraud? I don't know. Does he have connections to the Italian mafia? These are things maybe you can't easily look up, but I don't know. For an organization that's so hated, they're kind of maybe not the best at their jobs.
Maybe that's why they're hated.
Maybe that's why they're hated.
They're annoying, but they're also not even good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, not even good at it. They're evil and bad at it. Avik does not know syrup, and that's where Richard and Sebastian come in. Richard is all in. Syrup producers like him are not so happy about the QMSP, as we've said before, and the way it infringes upon their syrup sales. So in June 2011, they meet at the Madrid, a rest area just off the highway in Quebec. I love that the rest areas have cool names. That reminds me of New Jersey. It's the only place I can think of where it's like the John Bon Jovi rest stop. I don't know if you know that this is a thing.
Wow.
I've
Is
driven
it
by
John
it before.
Bon Jovi rest stop?
Yeah. It's like, there must be a Springsteen one, but I've never seen it. It's just like
Stop
famous,
in at Thunder Road.
Yes. Famous Jerseyites probably. Yeah. Garden Staters.
Yeah.
So the Madrid is known for its fiberglass dinosaur statues out front.
They look insane. I love that. I want some dinosaur statues in my front yard.
I mean, I guess, the same way I'm sure people stop for fun at the John Bon Jovi rest area in New Jersey. It's just like, if we're going to get gas somewhere, why not there?
Might as well get a selfie with a dinosaur.
I mean, otherwise, if you're not getting gas at the John Bon Jovi rest stop, then you're kind of just living on a prayer, right? Are we going to make it to the next rest stop? Is there going to be enough time for our gas to get us that far? Did that joke work? Maybe not. Moving on. So same thing. If we need gas in Quebec, well, at least we can see the dinosaurs while we're filling up.
I feel like our rest stops in America don't have hotels attached to them. That would be awesome if you could just stop off the side of the road and go to sleep. I feel like people do that in our rest stops, but they don't have.
Yeah, that is true. Although most rest stops, I'm like, I want to get in and out of here as quickly as possible.
That's true.
I'm not like, hey, I wish they had a hotel because their rest stop is so nicely put together. I'm sure their hotel is beautiful.
Based on this Mountain Dew I just bought, I would love to. It's like that's all
exactly.
you do at rest stops, just like buy candy.
Based on the hot dog that I'm now going to throw up later, I would love to know what their
bed situation is like.
Yeah, I want a mint on a pillow, a hot dog mint, maybe. I don't know.
Gross.
Yum. So at this rest area, the Madrid, they come up with their plan. Avik steals, Sebastian transport, and Richard sells. Avik rents a space in the same industry facility under the guise of running a legitimate business. Then the trio buys 104 barrels matching the QMSPs, and they rent that forklift. By October, everything is in place to get heisting. Taking advantage of the lack of nighttime security, or most times security, Avik uses the forklift to transport barrels into Sebastian's truck. Once the truck is full, Sebastian drives the barrels to remote sugar shacks to siphon syrup into a tanker truck. Sugar shacks. I guess these are literal shacks, or if you want to be refined, small cabins, which are used in the refining process of maple syrup production. This is how the B-52s got their idea for love shacks. They made love in a syrup shack.
Sugar shacks sound adorable. Yeah, it's kind of like a brewery. You can go there to like have breakfast and look at the syrup being made.
I love that.
Yeah.
I hope the food is good too.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's delicious.
So they refill the barrels with water and return them to the warehouse. But driving heavy barrels back and forth gets too time consuming. So they experiment with siphoning the syrup from the bottles at the reserve, like directly, cutting out that extra step. There's no security. They can just do it, right? It's so ridiculous. Sebastian then drives the tanker truck to New Brunswick, which lies outside the QMSP's regulated jurisdiction, as we said. I guess they don't have like border crossing. I guess we don't between states, right? But you would think if you're so protective of your syrup, then you'd have someone monitoring the barrels they're driving across. But again, as we said, QMSP, maybe not the best at their jobs. So New Brunswick, just to point out, it's bordered by Quebec to its north and the state of Maine to its west. So that's kind of just so you know where it is. And from there, they're able to sell to legitimate buyers in Ontario, Vermont, New Hampshire, also Germany and Japan. That's kind of impressive. Barrel rollers are not some like mom and pop operation. And they sell at full market price with the help of Etienne St. Pierre. These buyers know nothing of the theft, allegedly. So, if you had your pancakes and waffles with maple syrup, you might have sampled Richard's black market batch. Although apparently Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Butterworth are not authentic Canadian syrup.
Have I ever had real maple syrup then? I feel like I've only had just like...
Well, if you've only had, Aunt Jemima, which is, as we should say, now called Pearl Milling Company. But if you only had Pearl Milling Company and Mrs. Butterworth, then no, you haven't. But
I've had fancy syrup before, for sure. When I think of like brands,
I'm guessing does it make it down to farmers markets in Georgia? Are they all the way, because it's a lot of up here, right? It is Vermont and New Hampshire and Pennsylvania. We've definitely bought it at places.
It's less of a thing here. I'm sure you could find it, but that's not what I think of. When I think of farmers markets, I think of like jellies.
Yeah. Well, jellies exist too. That is true. Yeah. But you have good fruit in the South, and we have, I'm not going to disparage Northeastern fruit. I'm going to shut up there. Who am I?
Who are you?
And then, because we're talking hockey with Canada, so I'm just assuming your farmers markets are just all peaches, right? It's just all peaches and then jarred peaches and then peach jam. Is that right?
Am
I being rude? Am I offending you?
You're honestly
This is on behalf of Canada.
There's a famous sign in like middle Georgia in the middle of nowhere that says Petches. And they sell peaches.
Oh, that's kind of amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So with a seemingly unending supply of syrup, the operation grows exponentially. They steal 2,700 tons of syrup. So it was a lucrative business while it lasted. And truck driver Sebastian says he twice collected money from buyers for Richard. One time it was a shoebox stuffed with $200,000 in cash. It's a lot of cash in a shoebox. Big shoebox, or I guess big dollar bills.
It's a big shoe. Maybe it's like size 17. Yeah,
that's right. It was Shaquille O'Neal's shoebox. We should have said that before. Very clear.
Right.
He was involved in the operation somehow.
He is a part of a lot of businesses.
That is true. He sounds like. Have you seen like the gummies? Those like Shaq gummies now. They're like.
Whoa.
He has all these nicknames. One's like a Shamrock because he once had the nickname the Big Shamrock. And
oh my gosh! I was like, do they have his face on them? But they very well might. That's crazy.
There probably is. I know there's like different. I actually got him at a rest stop once when I was in Pennsylvania. And I brought some back for my kids because I was like, I can't believe these exist. But sure. Wow. And people are looking for excuses to eat gummies, right? Oh, it's a fun shape. Sure, I'll have another one. It's not a bear or a worm. It's Shaquille O'Neal's face. Where do I begin?
Where do you begin?
Back to Sebastian. The other time he collected money, it was a brick of $100. It's his words. A brick of $100 bills in a plastic bag. He figured totaled $100,000. Personally, he makes over $500,000 from the heist.
Richard profits around $1 million Canadian, 735,000 USD. He sells all the syrup for 10 million Canadian, 7.4 million USD. They end up needing to invite more co-conspirators in to assist, including Richard's dad, Raymond. This is where they start getting a bit lazy. Remember how the barrel tipped over on the inspector? They stop refilling the barrels with water and just leave them there empty. To be fair, leaving them empty is probably way easier and less time-consuming than lugging a hose inside the warehouse. Then you got to make sure you don't leave like hose prints. Yeah, it makes sense.
It is lazy, but I also get it. Like when there's literally no security around and you're one of the conspirators, the wife owns the warehouse. It's just, this is easy. We're getting away with it. No one seems to be paying any attention. I guess they must have been aware of like Michelle coming at some point, but maybe they thought, oh, the QMSP is not really paying attention and we'll get away with this forever. But obviously they don't.
Because we know about it.
Because we know, exactly.
Avik, Richard, and Sebastien get burner phones to avoid being tracked. With the operation being so large, paranoia sets in that they are being watched. They know the Federation is coming for their inspection. Avik says he will dim the lights in the warehouse. That will help.
I see barrels. Okay, I'll just move on. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you see all of them, though?
Yeah, and they clearly do know about Michelle then. They know the infection's coming. They just got lazy anyway and didn't do anything about it.
I know.
Should we fill the barrels with water? Nah, let's just dim the lights. That'll work.
Exactly. When the news of the heist breaks, they throw out their phones. They burn them. You have to burn a burner phone, right?
You have to burn a burner phone.
That's why they're called that?
By definition. That's just how it works. Yeah.
From there, the case kind of closes itself. In December of 2012, that's when the world ended, remember?
Wait, December of 2012, the world ended?
Yeah.
It did? What are you thinking of? Is this like a Mayan prophecy?
Yes, and there was a movie about it starring John Cusack.
Oh, wait. Okay, I didn't see the movie, but I just read Seth Rogen's book, and Seth Rogen talks about meeting George Lucas, who like believed this was happening and was like totally serious. And he was with Steven Spielberg, and they both had to pretend like George was not crazy. They had to be like, sure, George. And it's like, whoa, that dude is just out of his mind.
That's wild. I was kind of hoping you would say that Spielberg also believed it because he's so into like aliens, and I feel like, I don't know.
I guess not completely off the deep end completely though, unlike Lucas, I guess.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I forgot the world ended in December. Don't
you remember? This is, we live in a post-apocalyptic world now.
Where are we now? Kind of feels like it sometimes.
Yeah. It's similar, but just a little different and a little worse. There's a tiny bit worse.
Just a tiny. Yeah. It's not better.
No. In December of 2012, after the world ended, after Sebastian cooperates, authorities finally zero in on Richard and Avik. Authorities seize around 100 barrels from a warehouse rented by Richard. More than 24 people involved in the operation were arrested. All the barrels that were recovered, about 600, were transported to Quebec with a police escort. To add insult to injury, much of it had to be destroyed as it was deemed not safe for human consumption because the QMSP couldn't confirm if the crew met their strict standards.
I'm sure the QMSP was not unhappy to do that. Like, oh, sorry, now there's less syrup in the market. We have to raise our prices, right? I mean, honestly, like if it didn't meet the strict standards and it's contaminated, I don't want to eat it. That's true. So maybe there's some positivity there. But again, just knowing them and how they hold things back anyway, they were happy to do it.
Right. I'm curious how they destroyed it. I'm just imagining like a lake of syrup on fire.
Ooh,
it's a lot.
This is more fun. You just seem to be obsessed with fire today. How do you get rid of burner phones? You burn them. How do you get rid of maple syrup? You burn them.
With the phones. Yeah, it's a pile of cell phones.
Oh, it's just one big pile.
Yeah.
If a burner phone had enough maple syrup on it, I might eat it.
I'm with you.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Even if it was Pearl Milling Company, I would still do it. Wait, to go back for a second, the 600 barrels of maple syrup transported to Quebec with a police escort feels like one of the most Canadian images possible. The idea that you have a police escort for maple syrup is just kind of phenomenal.
They need it. Yeah, they have a barrel sitting in the front seat of the cop car.
That's right. Strapped in with the seatbelt is wrapped around. Like, it's okay. Patting on its head.
It's okay.
What do you want to listen to? Do you want to listen to Sugar Shack?
In October 2013, the QMSP opens a new reserve and spends $4 million on a security system.
Well done, QMSP. Seems worth it with all the money you're making.
Yeah. It's not a major surprise when everyone is found guilty. Truck driver Sebastien Jutra served only 8 months because of his cooperation with investigators. Etienne St. Pierre was sentenced to 2 years in jail, 3 years probation, and was slapped with an $850,000 fine. Avik Caron was sentenced to 7 years and given a $1.2 million fine. Richard Valliere was sentenced to an 8-year prison sentence and a $9.4 million fine. During the trial, Richard was quick to defend his actions. Quote, "Stealing from thieves is not stealing."
I don't think that defense worked. I think stealing from thieves is still stealing.
I think so too. He tries to get his fine reduced to $1 million in 2022, but is denied. Richard's dad, Raymond, is also sentenced to 2 years minus 1 day, weird, in order to pay $10,000.
Minus 1 day? That's such a detail.
Well, since you're the rest of the sweet dad, we'll give you a day off.
Raymond's like, 2 years is too much. We're like, you're right. We'll take a day away. Wait, no, that's not what I meant.
That seems fair, yeah.
Okay, deal.
Avik's wife manages to get away scot-free. The heist inspired a 2024 series called The Sticky on Prime Video, though the story is only loosely based off the heist.
I did not watch this. I remember when it came out. It's got Margot Martindale, who I love.
Oh, yeah, I do love Margot Martindale. As of today, the QMSP keeps their control over maple syrup production on Quebec. So that's it for the syrup heist. I like this one. It's a crazy thing to steal, but a very lucrative whole system I didn't know about. Let's get to today's diamond rating.
Before we get to that, I'll just say, I used to work for Food Network, and we get pitched, true crime does so well. So we would get pitched true crime shows, and this would always come up. So I've been aware of this for, basically since right after it happened, because people were like, oh, it'll be a great series on its own or just an episode. And I don't know if I ever knew the full details until, we've really dug into it for this episode. And it is fascinating. It's just amazing from the beginning of the headline that $20 million worth of maple syrup can even be stolen. And then to know how they did it and that barrel rolling's even a thing. I mean, I guess anything with value can be stolen, right?
Yep, that's true. Anything can be stolen.
That's for sure. And the idea that it's hard to find maple syrup after because, it doesn't have a barcode. It's not like it's easy to just know oh, that's my maple syrup you stole. So you have to track it in really unique ways.
Yeah. No, it's a whole world we didn't know about. Usually it's like these guys wanted to steal some diamonds and there's only so much to learn. But This is QMSP is really interesting. I mean, as much as it can be. It's pretty cool.
I mean, it is interesting to think about, why people steal things. And again, often it's just for the value of whatever it is. But there is something a little bit more personal and political here in terms of why they're trying to, hit back at the QMSP and get what they think they deserve. Or in some cases, what other people deserve, and they're just stealing it to sell it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So may you never look at maple syrup on your waffles or French toast the same way again.
I probably will think about it a little bit more. I'm like, oh.
A little bit. At least for a day or two. Let's stick in that noggin.
Yeah. I probably have syrup in the fridge, but I don't even know if it's in the fridge or if I have it at all.
I've also had this debate, is it supposed to go in the fridge? I mean, I think it's probably obviously lasts longer. I think it is. I think most people don't, right? I think it is supposed to go in the fridge, and most people just keep it in the pantry for way too long.
Right.
Not that it makes you sick or anything. Notice that. Yeah. So, as you said, yes, diamond rating time. Where are you at, Jesse? I feel like I often go first, so I'm going to see if you want to go first.
I think it's a good scheme. I'm going to give it a 4. They get a crap ton of money for it. Yeah, they get caught, but doesn't everybody? Most
everybody. Not 99% of the stories we tell. Yeah.
It's a nice little scheme they had going. I'll give it a 4. It wasn't like they didn't have crazy helicopters or guns blazing, so it's not as fun, but it's kind of clever in a little way. Sticking with 4.
I'm probably going to go with 3.5. There's no reason I couldn't go with 4. It's just the laziness. I feel like they could have gotten away with it for a lot longer. And they could have stopped. I mean, which is something that we said before, but they had it running for a long time. They made a lot of money on it and they just kept going. Right. So there's something about, it would have been caught anyway, but if they would have stopped, left things with, they literally knew when the inspection was coming, right? So they could have just planned this better in terms of, okay, the inspection's in a month. Let's stop a month or two before that, make sure things are filled with water or whatever it is, and get out while the going is good. And they didn't do that. So yes, I agree. An impressive scheme. They had the right people involved to pull it off, to get it out of Quebec, to get it to the countries where they could sell it, to sell it internationally as well. They're professionals. It's not some podunk operation, So that's almost a 4 to me. But I'll say 3.5 just because I still agree. Like, yes, most everyone gets caught, but maybe they wouldn't have been, or they could have gotten away with it longer, and they could have enjoyed the spoils a little longer, and they didn't. So, but entertainment value. I love the story. Heist, scale 3.5.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. They could have been smarter about it for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's the end of our sticky duology. That's what, right? It's not a trilogy; it's a duology.
Whoa!
Did I make that up? That's a thing. Right?
I don't know if I know that word, but I like it.
I think my son just read a series of books that was a duology because he's like, "Is there a third?" And I was like, "Nope, there's only 2."
Duology.
Yeah. So that's the end of our sticky duology for now. Maybe there'll be a unexpected third film in the franchise to come later. If I film, I mean,
maybe we'll find an even stickier episode somehow.
Something else sticky. Rat traps. Who stole a lot of rat traps?
A warehouse full of duct tape. Someone stole. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
In the meantime, that's our first trip to Canada.
Till next time.
We hope to return to Canada someday in the podcast, and Jesse will actually go in there in real life at some point too.
I will. All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.
And tune in next week for The Affair of Marie Antoinette's Diamond Necklace.
Heist Club is a production of School of Humans, hosted by me, Todd Weiser.
And me, Jesse Neismonger. I do all the fancy audio and music editing too.
This episode was researched and produced by Carolyn Talmadge. Our senior producer is Amelia Brock.
Our production manager is Daisy Church. Our executive producers are Virginia Prescott, Brandon Barr, and Elsie Crowley.
Join us again next week for Heist Club, and don't forget to rate and review. Thanks.